Africa's largest economy, Nigeria, is growing at an interesting rate, with a population of over 160 million people. And in spite of various challenges, this strong, large and most hospitable part of the continent continues to maintain a steady stream of development, with a growth factor that attracts opportunities and pillars for a robust socioeconomic expansion. The transformation agenda of the present administration under the leadership of President Goodluck Jonathan is very popular, committed and bent on ensuring a broad-brush development of important sectors in the country. The power sector is top on the logic. Electricity in Nigeria started in 1886 when 2 generation sets were installed to serve the colony of Lagos. By 1951, the Act establishing the Electricity Corporation of Nigeria (ECN) was enacted. This was followed by another Act establishing the Niger Dams Authority (NDA) in 1962 to develop hydroelectric power. The merger of the two organizations in 1972 created the National Electric Power Authority (NEPA). Between 2001 and 2005, changes to the National Electric Power Act removed monopoly status granted NEPA over generation, transmission, distribution and marketing of electricity. This was done to pave way for liberalization and increase efficiency. But these did not materialize until 2013. A comprehensive review of the policy legal framework led to the formulation and drafting of the National Electric Power Policy and the Electric Power Sector Reform Act, which adopted and enacted in 2001 and 2005 respectively. The latter provides the basis for the transformation of NEPA into the Power Holding Company of Nigeria (PHCN). The vertical and horizontal unbundling of PHCN into 18 successor companies, 6 generation companies such as Kanji and Jeba hydroelectric power plants were incorporated as a single entity, 1 transition company and 11 distribution companies. The rationale behind the unbundling was to increase operational efficiency. No doubt, the challenges in the power sector of the Nigerian economy can be traced to the damage done to the sector in the year of neglect and underinvestment. On 30 September 2013, PSCN was officially handed over to successor companies. The injection of private sector funding has therefore become imperative. Today, there are many operating companies. The sector is now positioned to deliver economic growth. The present administration is already on course in the implementation of its transformation agenda, which will be pursued vigorously in order to deliver the dividends of democracy. The Federal Ministry of Power is a policy-making arm of the federal government with a responsibility for the provision of power in the country. The ministry in discharging this mandate is guided by the provision of the National Electric Power Policy of 2001 and the Electric Power Sector Reform Act of 2005 and the Roadmap for Power Sector Reform of August 2010. Professor Chinedu Ositadima Nebo is minister.
No matter the way you look at it, power is at the center of all industrial revolution. In fact, the need for power was described even by some political scientists who said that socialism is communism plus electricity. In other words, if you really want to advance to a place where you are able to reach the entire nation, the entire community, power is at the fore, and power is key and foundational to all kinds of industrial and manufacturing enterprises reaching the zenith of where they are supposed to be in our country.
Our duty as a civil service is to provide a technical input into the roadmap that was developed by President Jonathan in August 2010. Then providing also the wherewithal, the manpower, the skills, the knowledge, the experience, professional experience of all to ensure that the roadmap is accomplished. And that roadmap from President Jonathan simply says that enough is enough, and he said it in his declaration speech, that the service of electricity in the country, which had been in the hand of government since the history of this country, had not worked. Nigerians became used to spending more time in darkness. And he said, enough is enough, let government allow business people to take over. So for us as civil servants, we key in and say, okay, if this is what you want, this is how to go about it. And that's what we are doing to make sure that his vision of private sector, Nigerian private sector, which has done very well. All the banks are owned by private people. Every business owned by private people, and the country is going on. And we're the biggest economy in Africa, which means the Nigerian private sector has come to stay. We can trust them. If we are trusting them in other sectors of the economy, what is the big deal about the power sector that we cannot trust them? Government kept it all these years, only 2,000 megawatts. High technical and operational cost, bloated workforce, nearly 48,000 workers, high budget that we don't see what it was being done with, and only 2,000 megawatts on the grid. Today, we are now on 4,600 megawatts.
The Federal Ministry of Power has made strong progress in three main areas: fixing the current system in order to deliver the maximum amount of power, consolidating the reform program in the power sector, and building the enabling environment that will drive the billions of dollars of private sector investment needed for the future power projects in Nigeria.
I came when things were in a state of flux, more or less. There was no substantive minister of power, and there was a lot of leadership problems in the sector. And one of the key things was unifying the sector, giving the sector one voice, giving the sector one posture, synergizing among all the different components of the sector. Well, again, with regard to the TCN, Transmission Company of Nigeria, there was a contract signed between the federal government of Nigeria and Manitoba Hydro International to run the TCN. Unfortunately, the board was not inaugurated. The schedule of delegated authority was not issued. It was when I came that within weeks I ensured that the board of the TCN was inaugurated. I ensured that the SODA, which is the schedule of delegated authority, was issued to them. In addition to that, there has been an unprecedented synergy between the Ministry of Power and also the Ministry of Petroleum Resources. These are things that were not there before. So because of this synergy, you've seen that power has improved and appreciated, because we're now getting more gas. We still have a long way to go with regards to gas supply to the power sector.
We inaugurated a committee set up by Mr. President, a kind of a collaboration between the two ministries to address this issue of gas under the chairmanship of Dagago Jack, Engineer Dagago Jack, that's the chairman of the Presidential Power Reform Committee. Within short periods, you will see the issue of gas will be a thing of past.
All our effort now is to allow the private sector owners to settle down, to stabilize, to begin to take over the management and operations of the power sector. Then there are some other things we are trying to do. That is to get into some legacy projects that never took up before. Zungeru, Mambila, Kainji, Akasobo Dam in Ghana, the dam on the great river Zambezi, all these were colonial dams that will take off in the colonial period. Sardauna of Sokoto in the early 60s came up with the idea that we should build 3, 4, 5 major dams in the north to take advantage of the hydrology of the water and the terrain. You know, building of dams, the terrain must be right, because somebody asked me, why don't we have dams in the Niger Delta? There's a lot of water. The Niger Delta land is flat, so we cannot have dams. But dams need high altitude, they need a terrain that can provide that proper advantage for using the water. So the north of Nigeria provides it. And Sardauna of Sokoto wanted to build these dams. But it's interesting that since the history of this country, of the 3 main dams, Kainji was the only one that took off. Zungeru never took off, Mambila never took off. President Goodluck Jonathan came and said enough is enough, enough is, we spent too much time on the drawing board. And after 45 years and so, Zungeru took off last year. Construction is going on right now, 700 megawatts. Mambila, 3,050 megawatts. Sardauna's concept 2 for development of Nigeria. We have finished almost rounding up the procurement process, and very soon construction work will start. On that's going to be one of the biggest engineering projects in Africa, and will create thousands of jobs during construction and post-construction. So these are the kind of projects that we are trying to see, because you can imagine 3,000 megawatts on completion in the next 5-6 years coming to the grid in Nigeria. And this was 700 additional one. So these are other legacy projects that never took off, which we are now trying to see that while private sector is going into gas-powered plants, solar plants, these huge ones, federal government can come in and start constructing and take them out of the drawing board, so the next generation of Nigerians will enjoy these big projects.
In the area of renewable energy and rural electrification, the Ministry of Power has made a concerted effort. This will ensure the access of electricity to the agricultural value chain and thereby enhancing productivity, wealth creation and poverty alleviation by providing electric power in the rural economy.
Look at Operation Light Up Rural Nigeria. We've demonstrated that it is possible to take electricity to the hinterland, to areas that are far-flung from the national grid, by giving them power 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, utilizing solar technology. We've done that in Durumi, at Shape, at Waru. And these things are still functional today. Mr. President, Dr. Ebele Jonathan, flagged this off on the 13th of January 2014.
The malicious and deliberate defacement or destruction of public facilities, otherwise known as vandalism, is a menace to any economic system. In the Nigerian power sector, it was one of the major factors that contributed to the challenges of the sector. Professor Chinedu Nebo, since his appointment as the Federal Minister of Power, worked out short, medium and long-term plans to overcome this challenge.
The main challenge is vandalism. It is difficult to explain for anybody to understand how a human being will wake up, an asset belonging to his country, he goes to put dynamite and blows it up. Even these companies that we're calling private companies, in the distribution companies, federal government still owns 40%. Let's not forget it. But we don't interfere. That's why we say private, because private sector owns 60%. They run, they operate, but they still belong to Nigerian people 40% until such a time when government sells those shares. to the public. In the generation companies, most of them will still own 20%. So we are still shareholders in these companies. By the NOI survey, 57% of all vandalization in Nigeria is power sector. Some are not even afraid. These big cables you see and towers, they go and bring down the tower so that they can go and sell them to people that make water tanks.
In sensitizing the public about the danger of vandalism and negative effects on power sector and the nation's economy, the Ministry of Power, in collaboration with various agencies, public relations firm, and influential models such as Charlie Boy, who is known as a trailblazer of the Nigerian youth, has conducted a widespread campaign in this regard.
First and foremost, an educated, responsible, and responsive citizenry. How do you achieve that? Outreach, reaching out to the populace, educating the populace, encouraging them to see the harm that vandalism does to our economy. So we need to do something very critical about vandalism. And that's why we appreciate all those who have come to work with us, including New Wave, etc., to make sure that people are educated to stop this vandalism.
We are dealing with it. We've been working with various groups, working with Charlie Boy and the other people, or Area Father and other groups like him, who are helping us to sensitize people. Youth groups are also working with us. So there's positive change coming. And we hope that very soon this will be a thing of the past.
Privatization exercise has brought to the fore the role of private sector as the engine of growth. There has been improved supply of electricity across the country, which is quite commendable. But the populace are of the opinion that there are still more to be done.
Truly, to say about electricity in Niger State, they are trying, but they still need to do more. Out of 100, at least I'll give them 60%.
There is an improvement, but we want a better improvement. I can say that there is a little improvement, even though we still have a fluctuation.
What government is supposed to do, they should employ people in the like Chororo, Kanji. They should employ them and pay them so that they can be able to work hard.
I think Jonathan's dispensation has brought so many good things in Port Harcourt. More or less, the power team is awesome. Every Port Harcourt man, every Rivers man is enjoying the power.
Really, sometimes we are get it, but sometimes we are not. But really, we achieve small. At least, according 100%, we achieve like a 60.
This present government, like the president, Jonathan, the power sector is really because they know how you can stay a week that you don't have power supply in your house. It's very, very improved. It's very good.
At least for now, 85%.
In Suleja here, some site that is electricity 24 hours, but inside the town we are not getting electricity. We are just managing. They will bring the light 3 hours. They will took the light. They will bring the light till night.
Even though we are not, with the power supply, but the little is very good about the past. Business people are enjoying now.
Yeah, they are trying, but we need more improvements so that economically and in our own way of life we will get improved.
A lot is happening. A lot. The way the Nigerian power sector is, for example, what is required to make it stand And what has been done to this point is sheer ingenuity, willpower.
Actually, I'm giving them 40.
Actually, when you look at the town, Suleja environ is a business center, I can say. But partially now, in the situation of electricity in Suleja, half of the town they consume light constant, but half of the town is just partially. So I can say it's fair.
You may not see it on the surface, you may not see the immediate impact on a 100% basis, but I'm sure everybody will tell you that they've experienced some percentage improvement from the general picture in terms of infrastructure at least.
The reason why you cannot see the change in a big and dramatic way is because we still have situations where there is still 4 hours or 5 or 6 hours of no light in many areas in the country. So now we have stabilized on about 4,500, 600. For the first time in the history of this country, got to 4,600 on the grid.
Nigeria had never gone this way before with regard to massive privatization of utilities. What Nigeria did and accomplished is privatization exercise that is regarded as the largest in the whole world of utilities. It's never been done at this scale. So Nigeria took on a lot at a time. And that's why some of our development agencies, one of them described it as simultaneous sequentiality, trying to do all these things that are supposed to be sequentially done all simultaneously.
No doubt the government, through the Ministry of Power and the private operators, have generated a greater amount of power in our recent history. There is an expansion progress. Dams have been rehabilitated. More plants have been built. Structures and support institutions have been established. Other signature projects are ongoing. And when all these are put to use, Nigerians will experience enough supply of electricity, and the nation's economy will attract numerous possibilities.
When and if we achieve 100% availability of power, the multiplier effect is it's more than 1,000 ways. I mean, we're talking about the reactivation of the cottage industries, to the minimized operating costs of the average business owner who's trying to do his business and he needs to run gen almost 90% of the time prior to now.
Life and business generally will boost to 100%.
There will be improvement. Most of the people will benefit because you see, we have many people that want to do business with this power, but they don't have the means, the capital to do it. But if government can try and do it, at least most of the people will rely on the power and the business will go on.
The answer is wow. If power can be sustained in this country, I can tell you that power alone can liberate over 30% of unemployed youth, those who are skilled.
The growth factor or the growth impact of power cuts across too many things, and essentially that's where we want to be.
My dream is to grow the power sector to a point where it energizes the real sector of Nigeria's economy so substantially that we will realize the dream, Mr. President's dream, of an industrial revolution in Nigeria. We will become a net exporting country instead of a net importing country as we are today. We will create jobs for millions of our young people by having a very vibrant power sector driving the economy, driving industry, driving manufacturing, even social activities and so on, so that at the end of the day, it will really be seen that the power sector, being the very core of industrial development and national economic growth, has played its role.
Providing affordable and reliable electricity to all citizens of Nigeria is a critical national goal of the federal government of Nigeria as a major part of the transformation agenda of President Jonathan. With sufficient and reliable power, the federal government's socio-economic goals of alleviating poverty, creating jobs and wealth will be an easy dream, and this is an integral part of the new Nigerian dream.